This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on board your live safari for today. This is, of course, the Sunset Safari. And my name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera today. And believe it or not, we're actually looking at a very small steenbok, a buck that we really don't normally get to see out here because they are so skittish. And of course, just as we tried to show it to you, it has gone behind this bush. But it's beautiful and it's very sweet. And I think there we go. See? I think you've got something in your mouth, little Bucky. Now, of course, your safari is live and interactive. The beauty of this show is that you can talk to us. So send in your comments and questions to the email address that will pop up, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We have many families joining us today from all around the world, from the UK, Germany, Canada, USA, South Africa, Ireland, Singapore, and Belgium. So welcome on board, everyone. I'm sure there's many other countries as well. We are really looking forward to hearing from you. Now, come on, little steenbok, show everyone just how gorgeous you are. Steenboks are said to be the smallest antelope we get out here. And normally, as soon as we drive, they run off, which is why it's special that we can actually see this one here feeding. Now, I have forgotten the temperatures today. Louise will be laughing in an FC, but it's very hot. For winter, or approaching winter, it's actually very, very pleasant and hot today, which I am not complaining about in any way, shape, or form. The sun is shining, we have blue skies, and it's absolutely glorious. 28 degrees Celsius and 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Look at that. The blue skies are stunning. I'm very happy to be out on a day like today. We are going to bumble down towards the dam now, see what we can see, because I don't think our steenbok is going to appear, I'm afraid. Although maybe when I turn my engine on... No, it appears not. Or Davy thinks maybe we can get a view if we reverse. Let's try one more time. Okay, we're going to give you one last tiny view of our feeding steenbok that is somewhere in there. There we go. This is probably the most relaxed steenbok I have ever came across, happily enjoying some lunch. So as I bumble down towards the dam, we are going to send you across to Mr. Hendry, who is really not far away from me, with another antelope.
Hello and welcome to this part of the Sunset Safari. It's lovely to have you with us here. My name is James Hendry. Owen is on camera, and we are sitting with some nyalas and, of course, some monkeys. It's lovely to be here with you. Please talk to us, of course, using the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv for the first 45 minutes. Then you can keep using it, but then everyone else can talk to us as well after that. So these are some nyala bulls who have decided that they shall put aside their male differences and seek out the enjoyment of each other's company, and I suppose more to the point, they'll seek out the protection offered by being in a group. Now, I'd say they're just slightly off adult. They're not quite the big mature bulls just yet, and so the big chaps will go off on their own and be seeking out ladies at this time of the year. And then the naughty little vervet monkeys are knocking about in the trees here, which is fun. Ooh, there's a monkey up there. Xavier in... Can you see the monkey? Xavier in Singapore. They run so fast because they have to get away from predators. There are lots of things out here that like to eat impalas. And if you want to get away from a lion or a leopard or a cheetah or a hyena or a wild dog, you better be able to run very fast. And so that's why they can all run so fast, because they have to escape from the predators. Tough life out here. The monkeys are quite difficult to see, but there are a few of them up there in that tree, which is known as an apple leaf tree. There we beautiful. Beautiful Ngala balls. All right, we'll carry on from here. We'll probably head to some waterholes. It's nice and warm today, about 28 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. While we do that, we're going to go across to Ngala and beyond Ngala, where Eric had the most phenomenal sighting this morning with a lion and her cub.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. Same as this morning, my name is Eric, and Marcel behind camera, there's his thumb. This afternoon we have come down onto the Timavati River, so this nice big open sand ahead of us, and we're just scouring the area looking to see if we can find any tracks or signs of a female leopard with a cub that hangs around this area. We are on our way to a nice big waterhole, which is probably about 10 or 15 minutes away, and like James was saying, it's an absolutely beautiful day today, nice and hot. There's a good chance that we'll see a little bit more mammal activity around that waterhole than we did this morning, so that's where we're heading on to. And once it starts cooling down a little bit, those of you who were with us this morning, you might have remembered that there's a wildebeest kill that's not too far away from the lodge, and so we might be heading down in that direction and see if there's any cool vulture activity, or if there's any hyenas. If we're very, very lucky, maybe that lioness, after spending the day with her cubs, might be going to go and get one last feed before she returns back to them. So that's what we have in store for you this afternoon. Hopefully our luck hasn't run out. Marcel's crossed all of his toes, all of his fingers. And yeah, hopefully we get to show you something cool again. Driving through this area now, we've been seeing some saddleboard storks here recently, so it'll be a very nice little sighting to see. Really, really big black and white birds that hang around these riverbeds, so it'll be a nice little bonus before we get to that waterhole. Hope everyone who watched this morning has managed to calm down. I've managed to settle my nerves, and I'm honestly feeling so lucky and privileged that we got to see that short little, it must have been 30 seconds of view, but we managed to see it. So Casper, who's 6 years old, is asking if there's any fruits or any edible things that we find in the bush. And Casper, it is very seasonal, unfortunately, and most of the fruits in the trees are here during the summertime. So after our rains, which is usually around November, December time, the fruits start coming in January. And there are some absolutely delicious fruit out here. Probably one of the most well-known ones is a marula fruit, which is about that big. It grows on there's quite a lot of trees marula trees that the fruit grows on. And then there's quite a lot of other different fruits that we find. One of my favorite ones is a sour plum. It's a big red one like that. You peel the skin off, and once you start eating it, it starts off sweet, but then it just gets sourer and sourer and sourer. So I absolutely love sour sweets. Kai apple tastes exactly like an apricot. So there's a variety of different fruits in the summertime. In the wintertime, I don't actually think there are any fruits that are edible to humans. Not that I can think of. I don't know, Marcel, do you know? No, Marcel's also shaking his head. It's mostly when we've got the rain and good sun is when the fruits start to come out. But you do have to try and beat the wild animals to the fruit. Alrighty, so whilst we head towards that waterhole, which will take 10 minutes, we're going to send you across to Lauren, who's got a butterfly.
I have a very special butterfly here, and it's a spotted joker. Yes, it's a rather funny name, actually. But when they open their wings, they have orange and black markings. Some people think it looks like the smile of the Joker. I'm not sure if it's a clown face or if it's the Jokers from Batman. I am not sure. I don't really see it. But it's called the spotted joker, and they're everywhere right now. Of course, they're making the most of the last little piece of summer. Come winter, we will no longer see butterflies around anymore. So they're trying to mate with each other furiously. The males are seeking the females in order to be successful this time around. Now, it does depend on the species of butterfly, but generally speaking, they don't tend to live for longer than a year. The bigger butterflies do live longer than the smaller butterflies, but all in all, butterflies do not live long. They are the adult phase. And I'm sure many of you know they undergo quite a drastic transition from eggs, which hatch into caterpillars, and in caterpillars that then form a chrysalis or a cocoon where they completely melt down, turn into liquid, and then rebuild themselves as beautiful butterflies. Now that is quite magnificent. There's not many organisms in the animal kingdom that can do that. And what that means is the caterpillar phase is not in direct competition with the adult butterfly phase. They both feed on completely different things. The butterflies have a unique appendage called the proboscis where they drink nectar. They suck it up like a straw. They don't really eat or chew. And the caterpillars do eat and chew. They munch away on the leaves of all the delicious vegetation. So we're going to keep bumbling down south, possibly head into Chitwa. And I think today, since it's such a glorious day, I want to see an elephant pool party. But as I do that, there's someone waiting at Eco Train in Kurongwe to say good afternoon.
Hello, all the families that have joined us today. It's very exciting to have you on board this safari. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Alex Shapiro. And we have found one of my most favorite animals in the whole wide world. Shall we see if we can try and find them again? They're quite sneaky, so I'm just going to shift around very quickly. And there were a whole bunch of them hiding in the bushes. Now, I also have to do a lot of listening today because they make a very high-pitched squeaky noise. And it's not a bird that we're looking for. It's a mammal called a dwarf mongoose. But now, they have done a disappearing act on us, which is very typical of the wildlife. They like to play games. What I am going to try and find for you is a picture of a mongoose. I've got to go to mammals. I will get there. Small mammals. I feel like I do this every day. I need to have little place markers that allows me to get... Here we go. Look how I am now, Alex. I'm getting better at this. Let me show you all a quick picture of what a dwarf mongoose looks like. There we go. So that's what we're looking for now. Now, this is the smallest carnivore in Africa, and especially in southern Africa. I can't hear them, so I'm just stopping every moment to hope that I can hear them, but I can't hear them, and they make a very... I can't even make a call. I don't know where they've gone. Are they on both sides? I feel like they're on both sides of us. Sorry, everyone, I'm going to put the book away very quickly. Oh, there's one in front of us. Alex, look there. 12 o'clock on the road. Can you see it? There we go. It's all about having patience out here in the bush. So there's that little animal that we were looking for now. So basically what they've been doing all day long since the sun came up is they have been rummaging around in the grass and underneath the trees looking for lots and lots of things to eat. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled to see if there are any more that come out in the grass. Now, Nadia, who's all the way, not all the way from South Africa, because I'm in South Africa, you've asked, why do predators see better at night? Well, this predator that we're looking at right now is actually a daytime animal. So it doesn't come out at night. So it wakes up in the morning when the sun starts to rise, and it sits outside. They normally like to live in termite mounds and little burrows and things like that. I'm just still scanning to see if I can spot any more, because I'd rather want you to watch some of these mongoose. I think Alex is good. He's got a better idea of better chance of finding the animals. And so they're going to go to sleep when the sun goes down. So there are some other predators or carnivores, or like, you know, the lions and leopards and hyenas and things like that, that have got much better eyesight at night. And that's just because their eyes are designed to allow a lot more light to come in from the moon, from the stars. There's one run just across the road. That looks like a little one. No, it's not. I've just forgotten how small they are. They're not very long. They're just longer than the length of a ruler. They're quite precious. But they're all around here, and they're looking for food. So they're looking to dig up maybe some scorpions. Love scorpions. Maybe they will eat anything. Lizards on a nice hot day, like today, that are out and about. They eat snakes. Now, you've just asked that exact question. Is it true that a mongoose can face up a snake? Yes, of course. Very much so. A very, very long time ago, a friend of mine had a really cool sighting of a boomslang, which is a type of snake in South Africa, and they normally live in trees. So it was slinking through the grass, which is unusual to see it down on the ground, and there was this family of mongoose that took a lot of interest in it, and they surrounded the snake. They didn't really attack it, though. I think they were just showing it that, we're bigger than you, you must move on. You could literally see the fear in the snake's eyes. But there are other species of mongoose. I've personally seen a yellow mongoose from where I'm from in South Africa, which is down on the southeast coast, catch and kill a Cape cobra. And then I recently saw an interesting video on the internet of another car. They're all coming out, Alex. They're all actually coming from the left, and I think they might come out onto the road eventually. And this mongoose ran and jumped and grabbed a snake out of the tree, which is, if you don't like snakes, it's fantastic. Perhaps it's better than having a guard dog. But I don't know if we're going to keep seeing these mongoose because they're quite shy today. They keep running into the shadows underneath the tree, so we'll go and look for something else. Lauren, however, has found the biggest land mammal.
I have. I found a herd of elephants. A large herd, I think. They're all moving, eating, moving. There's youngsters, there's teenagers, there's adults. I'm going to try and keep up with them because it's a very, very small one up ahead. I just want to make sure that I'm not putting myself in the middle of the herd. That's the last thing you want to do when it comes to elephants, is put yourself in the middle of a herd. So let me just check no one's around. And I'm going to try and catch up and show you this tiny, tiny little calf. Mother elephants are very protective over their little ones. Ishwar, you're 6 years old from Dubai. Very nice. You're asking, can elephants eat watermelon skins? Yes, they can. I have seen elephants eat watermelons, but that's actually not part of their diet. I see you, little one. Hello. The naughty teenager. I see you. Ishwar is coming to say hi to you. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, we're getting a bump push against the vehicle. Why are you putting your bottom on my vehicle? I don't want your bottom on my vehicle. I think this one is full of beans today, and this other one's watching and learning. Don't learn to be naughty. That was a bum on my vehicle. I shall go back to answering the question for you. I have seen elephants eat watermelons in places like orphanages. I spent a long time in Sri Lanka, and there's different levels of orphanages out there that I did see that, but it's not part of their natural diet. So out here, you can see they're mainly pulling up the grass from the ground, or they're pulling all the leaves off the trees that they particularly find delicious. Now, the diet does change from winter to summer. The summer diet is much better. That's when they're really happy. They can choose whatever they want to eat, and it's nutritious and delicious. Winter is hard. Winter is harsh, and they struggle to get food. The grass will die. Many of the trees will lose their leaves, and they'll be restricted in what they can eat. But yes, I have seen elephants and hippos actually eat watermelons, but it's only when they've been hand-fed by a human. I'm afraid not in their natural environment. Can you see this tiny, tiny little one? The grass is actually taller than it. Finlay, you're 8 years old from the UK. I hope I got that name right. You are asking, is it true that elephants can't jump? Yes, they cannot jump. I am going to sneeze, excuse me. Sorry about that. I do not know where that came from. But Lauren always sneezes on drive. I'm going to go forward to try and get this one. But yes, they can jump. They're not designed to jump. If you look at how large they are, their body mass, the way that they move, if elephants could jump, that would be slightly... Oh, the grass is far too tall. We're never going to see this youngster. My goodness, it's so tall. But yes, they can jump. They don't need to jump. They don't have any sort of real need to jump over things. Youngsters will always trip over and fall over logs, which is slightly entertaining. They do pick up speed. They can run. They obviously walk very slowly most of the time to save energy. But elephants have no real need to jump. So yes, that is correct. This is so lovely. I've actually been waiting for an elephant sighting for quite some time. Oh, look at these pair tussling. Well, I'm going to thoroughly enjoy my elephants, the largest mammal out here, and it appears that James has actually found the tallest mammal out here.
There is a giraffe bull who's looking at us. And he's wondering what on earth it is that we're doing out here. Why we're looking at him. Now, this is one of the most inquisitive animals that there is in the wilderness. Most animals will move away from you, and sometimes with giraffe, you can go and sit on the floor in front of them, and they will walk closer and closer and closer to you. And I once had an experience when I was just 2 meters, which is just over 6 feet, from a giraffe, because they were so inquisitive as I lay on the floor. Isn't that interesting? Anna, the tallest giraffe in the world's name is Gerald, and Gerald is 7 meters tall. Anna, I'm talking absolute garbage to you. The tallest giraffe in the world, I'll tell you what, let me just check. I'll tell you what the tallest giraffe on record is. Okay? Give me 1 second. I don't know who the currently tallest giraffe in the world is, but the tallest giraffe that has been recorded in my mammal app is 5.2 meters tall. 5.2 meters. Now, 5.2 meters in feet. Ooh, we must multiply it by 3.25. I wonder how many of you can do that in your heads. Times 3 is easy, so that's 15 feet, give or take. Call it 15 and a half feet. Add another quarter to that, and we're looking at about 4. So 19 feet or so is about the tallest giraffe you can see. All right, let's go back to Lauren and her elephants.
My very dramatic elephant, this youngster that put his bottom on my car, is still full of beans. He's taken a little tantrum at us. That's him. Why are you so unhappy, little one? And the other one's booping him from behind. Do you see that? There's a second one booping him. Are you telling him to stop? Uh-huh. You notice the adults, the matriarch, the mother, no one's bothering, no one's responding. It's just this youngster. Okay, hello. Now, this is true youngster behavior. If this was an adult, of course, it would be a completely different situation. Now, the forehead looks relatively smooth on the bigger one, and that's why I'm thinking it's a boy. It's very difficult to tell when they're young, but females have a really sharp forehead, almost a 90-degree angle, completely different shape from the males. That's why I think that... Look at the 3 of them. Look at that fork-tailed drongo that just dive-bombed them. Did you see that, Davy? It's a fork-tailed drongo that's following their every step. Now, this is a bird. It's a very special bird, and they follow large herbivores, and they're hoping that the footsteps of the elephants are going to upturn a lot of the soil and the dirt and the grass underneath with their large feet and stir up lots of delicious insects. So they hover above and then they swoop down, try to get an insect. Okay, I need to keep up with this naughty herd. I don't think I've quite been told off like an elephant like that before. Ariana, you're 7 years old. We've got more elephants here, and we've got kudu, and we've got impala. Oh, I don't know what to look at. That elephant's up a termite mound, though, Davy. That's quite entertaining. What are you doing up there? Ariana, you're asking, how do animals get food if the leaves on the trees are too high? Well, every single animal out here eats something different. So, for example, elephants will eat grass, which is on the ground. They can use their trunk. But they will also eat leaves. And, of course, because of their long trunk, they can reach difficult, tricky places that maybe others cannot. Elephants are also famous for standing on their back legs and putting their front legs on the tree trunk and reaching up even higher. Giraffes, like James had, they can also reach leaves that are very high up. But other animals, like your antelopes, your impala, your kudu, your Ngala, your steenbok that we saw earlier, they also eat vegetation that's close to the ground. So if they can't reach the top of the trees, then most likely they won't be feeding on those leaves at the top of the trees. So it depends what animal you're talking about. Some animals eat other animals, and we call these animals carnivores. So your leopards, your lions, they are all carnivores. And that means that they eat meat, they eat other animals. Whereas elephants, like these ones, they are herbivores. They only eat plants. They're not going to eat other animals. Soo Hyung, you're 7 years old. Hello and welcome on board. You're asking, do I ever see... Oh, this is bumpy. Sorry, Davy. Do I ever see any elephants fighting? Yes, I do. So youngsters will tussle, like these naughty youngsters up ahead, especially the boys. You know what boys are like? Boys love to wrestle and tussle and be naughty. And that's what that boy was doing. Here we go. But adult bulls, yes, I've seen them fighting. They will use their tusks and they will clash head on with one another. And because of the sheer size of them and their body mass and weight, it can actually be quite scary watching two big bulls fighting. The noise is incredible. And of course, elephants do have tusks, so they can seriously injure one another if it's a true fight. If it's just a play and just a wrestle, then they might not. But if it's a real fight from two aggressive bulls that are maybe fighting, oh my goodness, here you come again. I think you just want attention, mister. You're going to get in trouble from your mom. I'm convinced she's going to tell you off soon. I don't believe this. What's wrong? I think it's a boy. It just keeps coming out of nowhere. Maybe I don't smell so good today. Yes, Louise, you're right. It's probably Darby. Darby doesn't smell so good, I think. I don't know what's wrong with this youngster. But really, look at the rest of the herd. You can see that big female over there feeding Darby. You see that angular shape of the head. You see, it's not a smooth, rounded forehead. It's angular. That's the sign that it's a female. Males will have a smooth, rounded forehead. So none of the other elephants, none of the adults are reacting. Even the teenagers are not reacting. It's just this one young one being incredibly naughty, which is rather hilarious. Now, I'm not going anywhere. This herd is exactly where I want to be right now. And as I watch this youngster get angrier and angrier with us, we are going to send you across to Eric, who has some buffalo.
We managed to get to the waterhole that I was hoping to get to. and we found these buffalo bulls here. So a little bit more activity already than this morning. And these buffaloes have just gotten up from lying in the water, and now it looks like they're starting to move away, and luckily they're coming straight towards us. They've got their heads down, that one up in front, so smelling on the ground, making sure that there's no potential predator that they're walking into. They've got such an acute sense of smell. They'll be able to sense anything from like a lion's trail that's walked past there, or anything that they might be interested in. And this buffalo in the front is quite interesting because it's in the shade now, but it looks like it's got a big scar across the side of its face. And that could easily have been from a lion's claw. And when a lion's going after a buffalo, they try and get their mouth around the buffalo's nose and try and stop it from breathing. So that claw mark might be from a lion. This morning I was saying how healthy these buffaloes are looking at this time of year. And just look at the size of this one's neck. It is huge. So very, very muscular. And Sean from New York, who's only 7 years old, is asking how we can get so close. And Sean, we are lucky that these buffaloes are... Most of the animals are actually used to the vehicle, and so they perceive us people in the vehicle as very non-threatening, or they don't consider us as potential danger when we're in the vehicles. And it takes some time, but eventually they become very, very relaxed to us. You can see these buffaloes, they're fine with us being here, but they don't want to get too close, and that's why they're crossing through the water. That is awesome. Splashing through the water like that. You see. Now, Sean, if they were unrelaxed and they didn't want us to view them, they would have run away and turned away from us. So Sean from Johannesburg in South Africa is 15 years old, is asking if buffaloes are the scariest animal to encounter on foot, and yeah, I would say, yeah, they potentially are one of the scariest animals. Another scary one to encounter on foot is elephant, just because they are so big. Where have they gone? They've disappeared. And there's one more in the bush here. But one of the reasons why they are, I mean, if Marcel zooms in here, if you're walking along, I mean, look how easy it is to not see that buffalo until you zoom into the bushes yourself. So you could be walking past, and if it's one buffalo by itself, it's often a male who's reached his prime and probably exceeded his prime. And so they are feeling defensive because they're by themselves. And they've grown up in a herd of sometimes 200, 300, 400 individuals where they feel pretty invincible. And now all of a sudden they feel quite vulnerable. And buffalo, a lot of the time, their first form or their first line of defense could be to intimidate and attack. And that's why a lot of people perceive them to be quite a scary animal. But having said that, none of these animals here in the bush are wanting to harm us on purpose. They're just trying to defend themselves and make sure that they try and stay alive. I'm going to move forward only because this buffalo is wanting to cross, and I think he's worried that we're a bit too close. So I'd like him to cross and get to his other buddies. We might see him briefly here, crossing the road. There he goes. You see him there, Marcel? So Sid is asking about the buffalo horns, and absolutely said that they'll continue growing. I think that their fastest growth rate is when they're young, and then it slows down. But eventually, I mean, it might grow very, very, maybe a few millimeters in a year by the time they've reached maturity. But you do sometimes find these buffaloes that have got these huge, what we call spreads, are the distance between the two tips of the buffalo. These ones, although they are big, they're not the biggest buffalo bulls that I've seen before. So there's a good chance that they might get a little bit bigger, but not too much bigger than that. They've crossed down into quite a dense area where I don't think we'll be seeing them. So I'd like to just pop onto this wall over here and see if we can see anything else coming down to drink. We've got some hippos. They've moved a lot further away than they were this morning. They're right in the middle of the waterhole. There's a few families of ducks. And I think we might stick around here just for a little bit longer to see if any other mammal species comes down to drink. And in the meantime, we're going to send you back up to Lauren.
I am surrounded by elephants, and up here on the termite mound we have another youngster. I love it when they go up termite mounds. I'm not. Oh. Did you hear that? Oh, my goodness, that was it was a lot of water from this mama elephant. Excuse the aerials. These elephants have positioned themselves in the most awkward way right behind the car, but I don't want to turn on the car right now because I'm surrounded by elephants. I don't want to upset this mama because she has a very, very small youngster next to her. I don't want to turn on the car and cause any upset. The youngster, who was full of beans, came at us and put his bum on the car once again so that the whole car shook. And then he walked away. But that mama's walking away. Once she moves, we're going to turn and try and see if we can find the small one for you. Oh, there's some more here. Dobby. Now, you see that youngster, I'm sure it's a male, full of beans. Not aggressive, but boisterous. I would use the word boisterous. Now, you can imagine when that youngster becomes a teenager, it's only going to get worse. Testosterone will increase, and just like all teenagers, it can be very naughty. And that is why, once they reach about 15 to 18 years old, the males are kicked out of the herd. They're told to go. It's a matriarchal, female-dominated society. And boisterous males who are naughty like that, putting their bums on cars and running about taking tantrums, are not what the females want to have around. They've got to protect their young. So once a male reaches that age, they will be told to go. It's time for you to go. Just going to keep my eye on this. There's a very upset elephant that just chased that mother and youngster. Wow, I don't quite know what happened there. There was some sort of dispute. Mira, you're 7 years old and you're asking how big are elephants when they're born. They're very big. They weigh about 100 kilograms, which is 220 pounds. And they're actually kept in the womb for 22 months. Only after 22 months will the mothers give birth. So they are actually very, very large when they're first born. And this youngster behind us was tiny, but I think we've just lost sight of it. This is the elephant that was slightly upset. So let me just see what she's going to do. I can see it's a she. I can see her forehead before I move the car. I wonder what happened there. Normally females are not aggressive to each other like that, especially if they've got young. Okay, Davy, I think it's safe for me to reverse. I'm not going to go forward, but I am going to go backwards. See if we can get a view of all of these elephants behind us. Now, that was a dispute between two females. It wasn't at us, don't worry. It was one female who appeared to be very annoyed at the other, and I'm not sure why. Okay, let's just take a view from here, Davy. Wow. They are very emotional animals and very reactive. They do react to things, and they do have internal disputes. So very possibly there was a little bit of an argument there. That's the youngster right there. It's not a newborn, but it's a very young calf. Still trying to figure out, how do I use this thing that's attached to my face? What do I do with it? Is it a nose? Is it an arm? Is it a tongue? What is it? They have more muscles in their trunk than they do than we do in our entire body, in the human body. They have more muscles. So it's a very complex thing to coordinate and manage. You just have this dangly thing hanging off your face, and you've got to learn how to use it. And that takes a long time before a young elephant can really properly manage to coordinate their trunk. And that's why they're born with trunks that are so short. Because otherwise, the youngsters would just completely trip over their own trunk and end up in heaps on the floor. Sahiwu and Amanya, you're from Sri Lanka. I'm going to get Louise to repeat that question one more time, but I have been to Sri Lanka so many times. It's one of my favorite countries in the world. I absolutely love it. I used to go to Unawatuna. That's my favorite place in Sri Lanka. I'm not entirely sure I understand your question, I'm afraid. You're asking me, can I tell the behavior or the character of an elephant from its shape or size? I'm going to take a little stab at what I think you're trying to ask me. So by the size of an elephant and the shape, we can normally gauge the age. We can normally work out if they're very young, if they're a newborn, if they're maybe under 10 years old, then we can gauge if they're starting to become a teenager. We can tell if they're male or female. The males do behave very differently from the females. The females are a lot calmer. They respond to their matriarch. The males can get very boisterous. Davi, I think I'm going to go and take a look at these ones here. And therefore, we can judge these things. So we do know, like that young naughty male that was putting his bum on my car, I could tell that that was a boy. And I could roughly guess that he's not a teenager just yet, but he's going that way, and that's why he was being relatively naughty. But gauging the behavior and the characteristics, probably not. We probably wouldn't be able to do that from just looking at the shape and size of the elephants, I'm afraid. Oh, did you just trip up? All these youngsters are just being ridiculous today. This little one just tripped over its own front feet. So I really hope I answered your question there. I'm not sure I did, but I hope I did. Normally when we watch elephants, you have to actually spend some time looking at their behavior. Elephants will let you know if they're not happy. They will tell you in various different ways, mainly body language. Oh, there's a young one up there. You got it. I didn't see you there. Hello. Welcome to the world. Yes. Now, this one's not that young. It's definitely over a year. But if elephants are not happy, they will let you know from their body posture, their ears, the way they're positioning their ears, the way they're positioning their tail, what they're doing with their legs, what they're doing with their trunk. And we can actually tell using those type of behaviors if they're happy or not. But you have to spend just a few minutes looking, being hypersensitive, being hyper aware, and really, really looking at these animals to try and understand, are they trying to tell you if they're happy or not? Oh, what a fantastic 45 minutes has flown by once again. So now we are going to open up the drive to everybody. So thank you for all your questions so far, but keep them coming, kids. We will now answer questions from both kids and adults and everyone in between. Can you hear them feeding? manners. They're very noisy feeders. Now this is the mama, I think. I can see that angular forehead and the mammary glands. She knows we're here. She could hear us and see us and smell us a long time ago. She's quite relaxed. Not one single adult reacted to that little youngster earlier on. They know he was just full of nonsense. If it was a real threat and a real alert, all the adults, or at least some of them, would have reacted. But nobody did. Okay, I'm going to try and stick with this herd as long as I can. But I'm going to send you guys across to James, who has a herd of an entirely different animal.
You still got them, Owen?
Yeah.
Alright, we've missed our buffalo, fortunately. Actually, they've headed off into the thick bush here.
Okay.
Have you got them?
No.
No? They've disappeared. Fantastic. There they go, they're running very fast towards the north. 2 of them. And I will also tell you that the brakes on this delightful vehicle are no longer in a state of function. There they are. Look, Laura. Quickly, Owen. Zoom as fast as you can. We'll see the back end of one buffalo shuffling through the bush there. I saw it. I saw a tail flicking. No, they're there. Were you looking at them? There is one behind that bush. Astonishing sighting. Really just the best. You can hear the oxpeckers calling. Chip, 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 chip. Yeah, no, this is a magnificent sighting of buffalo. Wowee. Maybe there'll be a few more even. Imagine we had another sighting like we've just had. Can you see one? Oh. Say when, Owen. Quickly, they're going to walk out of frame. Go, there it is. Buffalo. At about 500 miles. Fantastic. Let's see if another one comes into frame. Here we go. No, don't zoom out, Owen. I can feel it. One's going to come through the bushes there. And we're going to get another sighting of a buffalo. Are we? No. We aren't. Well, that was spectacular. I believe that Eric has got a much more subpar sighting of some buffalo than we've had. So good luck to you, Eric.
We were actually just leaving the waterhole and we came around the corner, saw those 3 buffalo bulls we saw a bit earlier on, and they walked straight in the direction of this herd. And so now there's a whole heap more buffalo that we get to watch. And a lot of them are all in one quite tight group. They're all standing up, but they're not really moving around. And so I think that they've probably just in the process of starting to get themselves ready to move for the afternoon, and probably spent the majority of the hotter part of the morning right up until now ruminating and resting. And you can look at a couple of the buffaloes that are looking straight at us without really going down into the ground and feeding. They are chewing. So they're still ruminating, just regurgitating some of the cud that they've been feeding on for the whole day. And I'd like to see what direction they decide to move in. A lot of them have been very interested in us and they haven't taken their eyes off of us. So I suspect that they could be moving towards the waterhole that we've just come from, which is literally maybe 100 meters around the corner from us. And so they might be wanting to go and have a drink for the afternoon. Some really cool, nice big males within this herd, and maybe see a couple of glimpses of the young browner calves. one being quite aggressive towards one of the bushes there, probably just trying to scratch itself. Matilda and Poppy are asking what buffalo eat, and they pretty much only will eat grass. They're actually quite a selective grazer, Matilda and Poppy, because they like the best quality grasses around, and they will move through an area. They like nice open areas where there's lots of tall grass, so basically they can get as much grass per bite as possible. And without getting into too much detail, there's a few different types of grasses. You get your decreases and increases. It's very, very scientific, but basically they prefer increaser grasses because they hold more nutrients for them, and so they can basically eat less grass and still sustain as much energy as possible in their stomachs. The only time I've ever seen a buffalo browsing, so feeding off of the leaves in the trees, was in 2016, where the reserve I worked at, andBeyond Pinda, also experienced quite a bad drought, and there was pretty much no more grass left. So these buffaloes had to resort to feeding on trees, and even then they'll sniff and get as much grass as they could, and then they might go and take one bite off of a tree every now and again. So predominantly the grass is their main source of diet. I think there's a lot more of them than we can actually see. I just keep hearing a lot more noises coming from the bushes to the right of them and behind them. There's quite a nice deep drainage line where the air is probably a little bit cooler. It's probably been in shade for much longer. It also creates some sort of channel effect with the wind, so there'll be more of a constant wind blowing over their bodies there. Another very nice way that these buffaloes like to cool down is literally walking into water and lying down in it. So if we get lucky enough and these buffaloes start moving in our direction and past us towards the waterhole we've just come from, we might even see that, them walking into the water and lying down. It's so nice to see them with so many calves, and quite different to the impalas and the wildebeest, where you see different sized calves. So they vary from maybe only a couple of weeks old to maybe half a year old. And they do have peaks in the breeding season, but they can give birth all year round. Actually seems like the majority of the herd is now turning away from us and moving further into the bushes. So they might not be wanting to go and have a drink. Okay, so these buffaloes are going to be sticking around here. I think we might continue on towards that wildebeest carcass later on, but we're going to send you up to Kurongwe, and Taylor's got some very special surprises for you there.
Eric, I'm kind of envious. I'm not seeing big herds of buffalo. I hope that's what you have. But welcome to Kurongwe Game Reserve. We are sitting with a female cheetah and her two cubs. You might be able to hear some noises on the road. There are some vehicles, or quite a few vehicles, driving past us, so that might be a constant sound. But in case you were worried that Mom wasn't about, there she is, just resting up in the shade. Now, I haven't quite figured out where the other cub is just yet. I'm sure it is somewhere around here. But I wanted to tell you, before we get into the finer things, the other morning when we had that spectacular sighting of these young cheetah cubs on the granite boulders and little drainage line, we followed them for a little bit because I think Mom was quite hungry and she definitely wanted something to eat. The next minute we heard barking from baboons in the distance that were sitting up in the tops of the marulas and jackalberry trees, and they'd spotted her as she was walking through the riverbed. I obviously started to panic a little bit because a big threat to this cheetah and to a lot of other predators, in fact, is baboons. I don't think people quite realize what a troop of baboons would do if they came across a leopard or, of course, something like a cheetah. And many times, lots of safari guides, and it's been recorded from documentaries, like I said, to people actually seeing it, where baboons will chase leopards. And I haven't seen them chasing lions before, but there was that sighting in Kruger with the baboon and the lion cub. So that was quite fascinating as well. But anyways, I was really worried, so I decided not to follow them anymore, because Mom was visibly distressed at the fact that the baboons were shouting. So we left them, and she took the cubs much further into the thicket, thankfully. And I can tell you that both cubs are here, even though we haven't seen both of them. With the help of the researchers this afternoon, they went out a bit earlier, and they helped us find this female just while we were looking for a couple of other things. So the other cub is not harmed, so no need to worry, but I did panic, though, a little bit, as I thought, goodness, get out of there, girl. Go and find some shelter and keep away from the baboons. But that seemed even perturb us. Normally the young cubs are quite curious and quite inquisitive, but they seem to be losing quite interest in the novelty, or the novelty is wearing off on the vehicles. Laurie, so the cheetah cubs are eventually going to move off. Yes, we're talking about you, little one. Once they get a bit older, but they might stay with Mom for almost 2 years. I'd say about between 16 and 18 months or so. Again, it depends on every situation. Every female cheetah is going to be slightly different and do something completely different than maybe another cheetah. So it's always quite entertaining, and I know I've mentioned it already, but when you see a female cheetah and she's successfully raised some cubs, and they're almost sort of about 2 years old, and to see her with almost fully grown cheetah, it's quite impressive. So the females are going to go off on their own. They normally stay by themselves, and then the males will join up in coalitions, which is very impressive. I think my favorite coalition, I think the world's favorite coalition of cheetah, live up in the Masai Mara. And those are the Fast Five, or they also used to be known as the Musketeers. And watching them bring down prey is quite impressive. They kind of break all the rules when it comes to things that cheetah are supposed to do and not supposed to do. I wonder where that other one is. I'm just trying to see. It's very hot today. For the first time in a few days now, we haven't had clouds and rain, which is quite spectacular. It actually feels like the first day of winter of the Lowveld, which is typically bright blue skies, very chilly, misty mornings, as we had today. I know we didn't join you, but we were out and about. And then temperatures sort of in the mid-20 degrees Celsius. And I forgot to put sunscreen on, which was very silly of me, because we're definitely still going to get burnt in this weather. Cheetah don't really have to worry too much, though, about getting sunburnt. They've got all that fluffy fur to keep them nice and protected. Unless they've got a very pink nose, then they might be susceptible to sunburn. Now, Anushka, you've asked about the fluffiness on the cubs. So essentially that is called a mantle. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly mute the radio. So basically it's called a mantle, as I said. That's that white fluff that you see. And when cheetah cubs are born, they're almost black in coloration. This essentially gives them the appearance of a honey badger. And you know what fierce creatures honey badgers are, so you can imagine if these cheetah move short distances when they are quite small through the grass, everyone might be a little bit nervous of them, because the honey badgers will pretty much take on anything, from a lion to an elephant. They really know how to stand their ground really well, which every safari guide is taught to do. You never run, you stand your ground. But so that's that coloration. But they're going to slowly start to lose that. You can already see some of the spots have developed on the shoulder, working down towards the legs. So from about 4 months, it's going to really start thinning out. And you might still see some appearance, especially between the shoulder blades, of sort of some fluff. It's not necessarily going to be white in color, all the way up to about 8 or 9 months, maybe even just a little bit older than that. But it disappears particularly quickly. And these little cubs, in case you haven't seen the young cheetah before, they're just under 2 months old. So the youngest cheetah I've ever seen, and I think the youngest cheetah most people have seen, I think watching the show, and we very, very rarely have sightings of, mom moving a cheetah from den side to den side. And I think she was quite lucky. I don't think she had to do that too often in this area that she's living. But even though as she's sitting here and she's resting, she's still got her head up, ears pricked, looking around, making sure there's no potential threats trying to creep on in. Oh, sorry. Alex has just said that he can see the second, like suckling, as in laying flat behind her. Alex says he can see the second one. I might have a bit of a glare on my monitor that I can't see too well, but maybe. Okay, so Alex says middle of the screen, laying just down below, next to her. Perfect. So the other one is just there. Maybe having something to drink. Maybe still suckling. But they are so precious. They've been quite busy today. They've been walking up and down the fence line, and they might get a move on. And this is a great area to, of course, have them because it's actually quite open. You can't really see that, but the bush thins out a fair amount. So it'd be quite nice to just see what they get up to. Now, Kyrie, we had a fascinating sighting a few days ago when this female cheetah managed to catch an impala. She caught an impala ewe, and she fed on it. And initially, we didn't think that the cubs were around. She was quite panicked, and she was, sort of looking around quite a bit. But that's normal for a cheetah, when even a flock of vultures will chase you off your kill. So she was nibbling away, munching, and the next minute she let off some high-pitched sort of squeaks, if you will, and it's up now. There we go. Let's have a look here. Oh, doing a big stretch. And then the cubs came out, which was awesome. And these young little fluff balls came through and actually started feeding on the carcass. I don't think they were eating very much. I think they were just learning the taste. They're probably lapping up a bit of the blood. But actually ingesting big chunks of flesh, I don't really think that was happening at all. They're still quite young, but if the opportunity is there, why not? Why wouldn't you? If you had chocolate pushed under your nose, would you say no? Maybe if you were lactose intolerant, you might, but otherwise you'll probably take a chunk of it, or at least try a little bit of it. So these cheetah definitely enjoyed that. And I think Mom wants to keep them close with her. She doesn't like to leave them on her own. Every time we've seen this female since she's had cubs, and this is also with the research, she's always had the cubs at her side. She likes to keep them close. They also need to start observing. They're a bit young now, but when she starts hunting, they need to watch and see what she does, and they won't stray too far away from her. Peace and quiet. Isn't this beautiful? We might try and see if we can get a bit of a better position without disturbing these cats, and hopefully they get on the go. Lauren has moved on from her elephants. I don't know where she's going, but I'm sure she'll tell you.
I've actually not moved on from them. I'm trying to catch up with them. They've gone into a block, and it's far too thick for me to possibly try and keep up with elephants, especially when there's a few, unsettled ones, shall we say. So they're somewhere here, and it's been so long since I've spent time with elephants that I really, really want to catch up with them again. I've mentioned this before, but if any of you are maybe bored at home and you're looking for something to read, Beyond Words by Carl Safina is one of the most incredible books I've ever read. And it's about 3 different species, but they all tie in, they all relate. The elephant, the African elephant actually, the orca, which is aka killer whale, but we don't use that name anymore, and the wolf. So if any of you are interested in a really good read, Beyond Words. I'm not promoting this book for any other reason than the fact that it's really fantastic. And I learned so much about elephants through reading this book, especially the role of the matriarch. And hyenas also have a matriarch, but when you talk about elephants, It's not just a role, it's a lifestyle. If you are the matriarch, your whole life evolves around being an incredible matriarch. And believe it or not every female is cut out to be a good matriarch. Some fail, and some actually just give up. Some try to be a matriarch and they can't. It's too much responsibility and they walk away. Sometimes if a female is appointed matriarch just a little bit too young, she won't be successful. She's not got the knowledge, the experience, the strength. So it's not just a sort of appointed role like a hyena. I mean, hyenas are incredible. You all know how much I love them. But it's the silver spoon effect. Nah, we have one elephant. I don't know if this is the same herd. Most likely is. You're born with your rank. So if you're the matriarch's daughter, then you're the highest ranker. And it's just because you're born that way. And most likely you will become the matriarch when you get older. Most likely. But with elephants, it's completely different. It's not just a role you're born with. It's a lifestyle. And you're not all females will be equipped to be the matriarch. Okay, they're all here. Hello, guys. Sophia, you are 7 years old. And look at all these elephants saying hello to you. They're saying, hi, Sophia. Sophia's from the UK, which is where I'm from. And it's rather chilly there, elephants. I don't think you guys would survive. No, especially in Scotland. Whoa. Sophia, you're asking, would predators eat baby elephants? Yes, if they get the chance. So we're mainly talking about lions. Now, a lion pride, together with some males, would attack a youngster like Davy has shown you right now. As sad as that sounds, they would. And that's why the youngsters stay so close to mum or aunts or cousins. And this is why herds constantly communicate with one another. Sometimes we just can't hear it because it's out of our hearing range. Because they constantly need to know where one another are in order to keep everybody safe. If lions stumbled upon a calf, a very small calf, that was on its own, then they absolutely would hunt it, unfortunately. But luckily that rarely happens. If they came across an injured elephant that was maybe unable to walk and also on its own, lions would attack it. Now, other predators like your hyenas and your leopards would scavenge an animal if it was already dead and on the ground. Absolutely they would. But it would really only be lions that would have the strength and the numbers and the ability to take down an elephant, even a young one. And even if a lion tries to get close to this young calf, they would have the whole herd to deal with and it wouldn't be pleasant. Elephants are very protective over their young. They will charge, they will put their own life at risk to protect their offspring. The life of an elephant and the structure of an elephant is very, very beautiful. It's all about the herd life. It's all about the matriarchal society. Females are very, very important, and so are the males, of course, but they deeply, deeply care for one another. I think we're going to try and go round and catch up with this herd. Annie, you are asking what happens when the elephants get too hot, and you're 7 years old from New York, one of my favorite cities in the world. When they get too hot, just like us, they're mammals, they'll seek shades or water. Oh, we've got one crossing in front of us now, a young female. See that forehead? Shape of the forehead. Oh, look. I didn't see that youngster. I bet this is maybe her first. She's a young mother. She's suckling. The baby's trying to suckle. They use their mouth to suckle. Probably don't have the best view of it. But the youngster's trying. So you're asking what happens when they get too hot. So they'll seek shade. They'll also seek water. So you see how their skin is so wrinkly. Looks like they need a good exfoliation. Then a moisturized session, and then possibly even some microdermabrasion, and then maybe even Botox to sort that skin out. But it's intentional because that wrinkly skin holds water. So if they go swimming, water will stay inside the wrinkles, which helps keep the animal cooler for longer. They love water. They love to splash in it, cool down in it, play in it, drink it. but they also flap their ears. You'll see elephants flapping their ears back and forth and back and forth. And that's another cooling mechanism. The ears are like ginormous air conditioning units. And they're very thin with lots of blood vessels. And this helps keep these very large animals that don't have sweat glands cool. Okay, I'm going to keep up with my hair. This is just far too fantastic. But now we're going to send you across to James for an update.
We're sitting where the old leopard den was. And we're sitting here because somebody came in yesterday evening just on a whim and said maybe they thought they could have perhaps, on the off chance, but could have been hallucinating, seen something, but they didn't know what it was. So we've just come to have a look. And there are a lot of birds having a bit of a gedunte around here. But I'm not sure that any of them are looking at a bebe leopard. We'll sit for 2 minutes and then we'll carry on the endless search. Still, it's a lovely place to sit for the afternoon, I must say. So those birds you could hear were arrow-marked babblers. I can actually see something very interesting behind us, but I don't think we're going to be able to get it. Oh, and you can try.
Just sit in front of you.
It's a leucistic squirrel. If it stands still while this great shifting takes place, I'll be amazed. You see it on the road behind us. I just can't move the car because it'll definitely run. It's semi-leucistic. You see it there? And it's gone. That's great. Always, always, always. Okay, let's get out of here. I don't think there's anything going on here. I think it was maybe a lizard that snuck into a crevice or something yesterday. All right, well, always worth a check. Leopard cubs, of course, are very good at hiding. So at their age, it's always good to look up in the trees around. All right, let's go back now to Eco Training's Karongwe, because I think cheetah cubs in this light is something that really no one should be missing.
We do, but I was going to make a joke and say something along the lines of one of the cheetah cubs is also just as good at hiding, but both of them are there. You can see their heads moving. Can I draw your attention away from the cheetah because they're not going anywhere? To the top left, please don't fly away, is a southern white-crowned shrike, which is such a great bird to see. Hello. We don't always get to see them all the time. I hope that's what it is. Yes, it is. Sorry, I couldn't see very well. Look at that. I suppose it's called a southern white-crowned shrike because it has a white crown. Oh, there, it's just landed off to the left again. And it's doing an interesting hunting technique. Oh, no, never mind. It successfully caught something. And off it goes. Lovely. So the longer you sit with animals, the more things come around, and we'll maybe have a view of it later. It seems to not be too bothered. Now, there are both of the heads of the young cheetah as they are suckling away on their mother's teats. They're going to have such full bellies. I don't know if she's caught something since we last saw her. So she's going to need to definitely catch something at some point if she's going to want to feed all of them all the time. Oh, Alex has just whistled at me. I thought he was a cheetah for a second. He spotted another really good view of a southern white-crowned shrike. So we're just going to have a look at it. I know you're all absolutely dying to see the cheetah, but there are some keen birders out there. And again, we don't always get to see these birds. But they're very interactive as well when they stick around. I always find that I have very interesting sightings with them, especially at sunset when they're silhouetted. There you go. There's a pair of them just sitting above the cheetah now. And to the right-hand side, there we go, top right corner on that spiky shrub. There we go. So there's a pair of them just sitting over there. So one caught an insect earlier. There's now also an African grey hornbill that's just landed just below them, literally just below them. Look at this bird party that's moved through. Perhaps they will encourage the cheetah to go on a hunt. I mean, I don't think they're really going to do that, but it would be quite nice. It's like an omen for this cheetah to go on the move, and perhaps this is her chance to successfully catch something. So 3 birds sitting in a tree, 2 special species, and then of course look at this. Perfect timing. The big reveal of the 2 young cheetah cubs that did not get nabbed by the baboons. Aren't they precious? Hello, amazing nature. It's great to hear from you. Now, you've pointed out those beautiful facial markings that a cheetah has, and they're quite different from a leopard, aren't they? Because cheetahs spend so much time out during the day, they've sort of adapted to hunting during the daytime. If you think about it, the hyenas, the lions, the leopards, they're all out typically at night. Again, they're opportunistic feeders, all of these species, and they'll just really hunt when they want to hunt. But by having black markings on your face, you're not having white that reflects up into your eyes. So it's supposed to be able to help them with beating the harsh sunlight. Whereas leopards and lions, and even with some antelope species, we actually see that they've got white markings under their eyes, which will help reflect the light back into them and give them a better chance of seeing things around them at night. That's quite a sweet view of the one little cheetah just peering up at us over Mom's back. We were just chatting just before you came to us about how relaxed this female is with a vehicle. Pretty much this entire time until just a few moments ago where she rolled over, she's had her back to us. And I found that to be quite fascinating. And in fact, I think it just goes to show you how comfortable she is with her cars. And the reason why I say this is because the fence line is not too far away. There are a lot of vehicles moving up and down it, so there's quite a bit of sound. I mean, you've heard it all. I don't need to describe the sound to you. I would think if your hearing is sort of hindered in the sense of the big vehicles moving up and down, you'd probably want to use another sense, like your eyesight, which cheetah have fantastic eyesight, to spot any predators or any potential threats that may be coming by, and rather listen behind her where there's not so much noise. But she's done the complete opposite. I don't know what drew her attention to roll over like that. Perhaps it was the annoyance of the cubs. Maybe she's tired of suckling them, and that's why she's rolled over like that. But it's definitely not got anything to do with us. She very rarely even turned her ears towards us. She's very focused on everything else. So just going back to a question from VM, yes, it seems as though she's hunting with her cubs quite close. There we go. You can see she's got all her canines. And you can see how nice and white and good condition her teeth in, confirming that she is a fairly young female. So when we even saw her, we just spoke about the kill that she'd made a few days ago with the impala, and her cubs were right there with her. So I think she's just walking short distances with the cubs in tow, and if she sees something, she might stop, perhaps give the signal, little ones, right, you need to sit and stay in the long grass underneath the shrub and stay hidden, because even a stampeding herd of impala or wildebeest or something along those lines could definitely be a threat to her youngsters. They could quite easily get trampled. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was a movie about something similar to that, but with a different species of cat. But she looks like she's going to wake up now. That big yawn. The cubs are starting to play. I think Mom's getting tired, like I said, of them suckling. So hopefully next time we revisit these cheetah, they'll be on the move. James has had some better luck now. He's found himself an elephant.
Mercy, mercy, we have got an animal that is in plain view of the camera lens. It is behaving in a manner that indicates it's not terrified of my presence. And it is an elephant, a magnificent elephant. A big herd is around here, and these are just 2 individuals in this herd. I don't think I shall leave them for the rest of my natural life. Owen, I hope you're ready for a very long sighting. There's just a cow and her calf. The rest of them are through the bushes, feeding. I've just you can see they've got a bit of mud on them. I've just come past a sort of mud wallow, which is quite popular amongst the animals. Unless I happen to be going past it, in which case it's not popular with anything except a dragonfly. And I suppose something quite interesting to note here is the fact that she's got a very square forehead. And you'll read that that's quite a good way to tell male from female. Once they get to this age, however, it's very easy just to look between the front legs to what they call a single pair of pectoral mammae. The sound is just so lovely. No, Liam, they're not born with tusks because, well, it would be just like you being born with teeth, basically. It's exactly the same sort of thing. In fact, they get their teeth even later than you do. The first tusks come out, I think, at about 1 year to 18 months, somewhere around then. Oh, that's a beautiful view. Oh, well done, Owen. You avoided the plopping. And then they lose those, and then they get proper ones, just like you lose your teeth. So this chap's, I'd say, about 4, and those are probably his permanent tusks. I'm not actually sure when they lose the milk ones. Let's just nip around the corner here. There are other elephants, which is very nice. They're heading into the thick bush on the banks of the great Mulawamati River. Here is one example, beautifully backlit by the soon-to-be setting sun. Some Aristida thereon grass forming a lovely golden frame to the picture. That's art for you, Owen. Well done. Yes, Louise, you're absolutely correct. You say we are definitely moving to winter colours. That we are. It's a very subtle change, but suddenly you see it with something like this, especially with that thereon grass. It does change. I'm now going to go forward again because there are 2 little elephants in front of us having a boxing match. You see them, Owen? Is that enough? No, don't take them away, Mum. We want to see them. We won't be offended by their manners, I promise you. That's very cute. Apparently this might be the same herd Lauren had. She might be around the corner. Although this wasn't the direction she said she was going, so I'm not sure. But it could be. Oh, there's a very, very pregnant one. Yeah, all right. Right, yeah, that one. That's the one. Just see if we can see any movement there. Oh, and sorry, off her quickly. Oh, and one of the babies decided to lie down quickly. And now we'll show us who is the boss. What a terrifying animal you are. See the baby tusks there, Liam? Those are definitely baby tusks. They'll fall out. There's obviously a lot of very delicious food in there that they've all huddled in a group. Casper, I've never seen a mother elephant pick something and feed it to her child, no. But there's definitely some kind of teaching that's going on. The mothers seem to teach their youngsters by example. And I'm pretty sure there is some kind of language that passes between mum and baby that will help the baby to select the right kinds of foods. But I think it's largely by example, so they'll learn what to eat from mum. But I don't think she actually ever feeds them a piece of bush and says, taste this, it's really good. I don't think. I've never seen it happen. That's the youngster who was artistically framed before. Righty, we're going to go across now, I think, to Lauren and the hyena den, and we'll see what's going on there.
You won't believe how we actually ended up here. We were Ribbon's den because the elephants walked right past this area. Did you hear that? And the cubs are there, everyone. The cubs are there. We've seen them. We've had a brief glimpse. They're suckling. And the elephants walked right by here. So Darby and I thought, let's just see. Let's just go and see Ribbon. And the cubs are there. They've popped their heads out just ever so briefly once. And there's a grey go-away bird telling us all to go away. Away! Away! And then we've got some francolins down here, Davy. Can you see them? 1, 2, 3 francolins. It's all happening at the den today. But the cubs are there, and I want to see the cubs in daylight. The milk bar opening times are very confusing for me right now. I don't understand why we're not seeing... Oh, hold on. Yep, she's definitely nursing right now. Uh-huh. And it's just so nice to see their little faces when it's bright, glorious sunshine. I can see something moving, but I'm not sure if Davy, you'll be able to see it. Right at the back, there is a black head. I can see, oh, yep, I can see the ears. I think we're maybe going to get a little visual of the head soon. But they're both there. This is so exciting. I got my lucky mushroom socks on, that's why. I think once they've finished drinking milk at the milk bar, I think they might have a little bit of energy and we might see them climbing around the den. Patience is going to be required here. I really wanted to keep up with my elephants, but because they brought us here, Darby and I thought, let's just go check on Ribbon. You never know. I can see a head. Can you see it, Darby? No. Okay. We're going to get a view at some point. Vanessa. Oh, hello. Vanessa, I'm going to come right back to your question about the matriarch. The cub's heads up. Ribbon, put your head down, my girl. Sometimes I feel that Ribbon knows exactly why we're here. Ribbon, put your head down. So Vanessa, you're asking about the role of the matriarch in the hyena clan. Let me put it this way. Can you imagine hyenas with zero leader, no one in charge, and just a clan of hyenas running amok? It would be absolute pandemonium. The matriarch keeps things in order, so it doesn't always seem a fair way to do that for me. Yes, you're the matriarch, I know that, Ribbon. It doesn't always seem fair, but of course nothing in life is really fair. And although the higher rankers definitely seem to have a better life, they get first access to food at kill sites, they get treated better from all the others, males and females. So the matriarchs are generally in better health, better condition, they're much bigger. Ribbon's a lot bigger than she once was when she was the lowest ranker. The matriarch's there to keep everything in order. They structure the entire clan. Everyone responds to her. She's the boss, everyone else is submissive. And that's why there's a matriarch. The same really goes for elephants. Imagine if elephants had no social structure and you just had these massive, large grey mammals running amok and putting their bums on bonnets and pushing cars. Again, it would be crazy. There has to be a leader for animals like this. And that's why hyenas have a matriarch. But why is it a female-dominated society? I think females have evolved the way they have in terms of size and their sex organs, their reproductive organs, to avoid being overtaken by the males, avoid sexual coercion, which unfortunately does happen in some species, and to thrive. If the males had the advantage over the females, they would be much bigger, and female hyenas probably couldn't really survive or thrive. And I believe that's why it's a female-dominated matriarchal society. No, the cubs are there. I'm hoping that they may get a little bit snoozy once their tummies are full of milk, but then they're going to have all of this energy and they're going to want to run around and climb on Mum's head. Okay, I'm going to sit here with Ribbon, but I believe Taylor's Cheetah are now on the move.
Sorry everybody, we're just trying to get into position. Alex is not sitting in the most comfortable spot. But thank you, Lauren, for jumping on board with us so quickly. That's the tracker seat that you can see on the bottom right, but the female cheetah is now up and she's right next to the car. Like, I cannot tell you how close she is. It's amazing. She walked towards us. There are the cubs. The cubs are just coming through that gap. So, by under no means are we going to get close to these cheetah. We always keep our distance. We always park a fair distance away. And if Mom leads them right past us, you know, they're a little bit hesitant, but they follow after Mom, which is awesome. There they go. They're going to come pop straight through that little gap. Now, hello, little cheetah. There they go. Just a little bit further down. They're coming towards us. Go down a bit. I can't roll back. I'm so sorry. And I don't want to start the car now, because if I do start the car behind all the guarri trees, I'm so sorry, they're so close. But that's definitely going to give them a fright. So in a moment like this, if young animals, which are very curious, do approach you, that's fine. Not a problem. Just sit still. You can't start the car and start reversing, panicking. Obviously, if the adult shows you that they're not particularly happy with you, then you might have to do that. But Louise, the cheetah have now disappeared. They're just walking onto the fence line now. We're going to see if we can't get another view of them. So while we reposition, off we go back across to Ngala. Sorry I couldn't reposition.
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala. We have gone and went to go and have a look at that wildebeest carcass that lion is caught this morning, expecting to see vultures and jackals, maybe even some hyenas fighting over the scraps. And as we pulled in there, and there was not an ounce of meat left. The vultures had picked that carcass absolutely clean, so we thought we might as well just drive around and see if we can find anything else this afternoon. And we've come across these wildebeest, and they're looking at us quite suspiciously. But yeah, this is the animal that lioness managed to kill last night. It was a much smaller one, so it was probably only about a year old. These wildebeest seem like they're nice and big in their prime. That one is even alarm calling at us. Seems like it's just the three of them, so there's two that are standing up, and then there's one that's so relaxed it hasn't even moved. And that one there that's lying down looks like it is the biggest of the three. And I think that is the male, and he'll be more than likely the territorial bull in this area. The two on the right-hand side, being very similar sized, I would suspect would be young males who probably aren't a threat to challenging his territory yet, but they're just latching onto him. And safety in numbers in this area, it's a lot easier for them to spot something if there's more of them than just the one. And so as long as they're submissive and they don't try and challenge for his territory, then he'll tolerate them. And so Emily, yes, absolutely. So animals definitely do have the same five senses that we have. Just different animals will have different senses that are better. So, for an example, like as humans, out of our sight and our hearing and our smell, I would say that our eyesight is the best. It's much better than the hearing and the sense of smell. Whereas there are a couple of animals in this area, say for example wildebeest. I would say wildebeest have got pretty good eyesight. Their brains just don't work too well. But the impalas coming in the distance, they've got very good sense of smell and sense of hearing, but their eyesight maybe isn't as good as a wildebeest. And that's why you'll sometimes see these two different species will associate with one another. For that exact reason, they might complement one another's senses and allow them to spot prey as much as predators as early as possible. Seems like it's a gang of 3 versus 3. 3 wildebeest versus 3 impala. There is a 4th impala coming. But I think that all of these animals are males, actually. Okay. I think we're probably going to leave these wildebeest and impala to settle their dispute in peace, and we're going to send you across to James, who's got some more elephants.
We're sitting here with the same herd, but it's come out into the open now. And the sun is casting a rather magnificent light on it. Hi guys, these are the young bulls you'd expect to pay. You either know heed or come and say hello. They're doing a little bit of both. Yes. Been a long day? And then a couple of others just feeding along gently. They all kind of seem to know where they're going. There seems to be a set direction here for the group. And I'd say that we're looking at about 12 to 15 elephants here. It's a good size herd for this area. All right, let's quickly go over to the den.
Make too much noise. This is so wonderful. Daylight sunshine. I've got one cup. I've only seen one. Can you see the other one, Tommy? No. I'm just going to keep my voice a little bit lower and try not to move. I don't want to startle them back into the den. Ribbon's given up. She's, ugh. Hello. Oh my goodness. One is much braver than the other. I wonder if this is the dominant one. Vegetarian hyena over here. Where's the other one? They're ready to start chewing. The teeth are becoming ready to gnaw on anything that they can. This is exactly what I wanted. So cute. I'm sure the other one will come out, and slowly but surely I want to try and pick out differences. I want to try and pick out a feature so we can at least know cub 1 and cub 2. Cute. Ribbon. Oh. That's one way to keep an eye on your cubs. George and Jack, you are saying, wow, the cub has grown so fast, haven't they? Oh, Ribbon, you're such a good mom. Oh, okay, you don't have great balance and skills, but you're a good mom. Oh, she really is. I think she's learned over the years. She suffered loss. But yes, you're right, George and Jack. They have grown so much since when Davy and I first saw them. They're coming back out. I can see the shadow. The shadow looks huge. Oh, it's a hard life being a mama. They're there. I can see the shadows moving behind her. I just hope that they come back out again. Even if they don't, it's been such amazing visuals. I think that's them over the 4-week mark now. They'll be approaching week 5 soon. But the smell that is coming from this den, I do wonder if she may move soon. I keep changing my mind. Will she move dens? Will she not? But the smell, oh. I think the parasite load will build up and she will end up moving dens. Otherwise, she's going to have very smelly cubs. Okay, I'm going to stay here hoping for more views, and of course if they pop their little heads out, you'll be right back with us. But for now, over to James, these Ellies. Oh, I took a cheeky photo there, and you're still with us, everyone. That was naughty. I did take a photo. Okay. I think I'm allowed to take some precious moments of these cubbies because this is just too precious. Perfect light. The sun is out. And they're just too cute. Okay. I'll keep my eye on for that perfect moment. Oh, look at the paddy paws, Davy. Look at that tiny, tiny little paw. It'd be nice to see the two of them, wouldn't it? Okay, I took another cheeky photo, everyone. Oh, look at that big tummy. Oh, the genitals are out. I know this sounds bizarre, but I wonder if we can get a close-up view of those genitals. Oh, no, don't eat it. No. You're not supposed to eat that. Oh, Louise is seen as looking kind of pinched. Now, it's far too early to probably tell the difference, but I would like to get a look, and the only way to identify male from female is to get a really good close-up of that genital. And I know that sounds bizarre, everyone. I'm very well aware of that. But it's the only way. And they're too young right now, but I just think it'll be really interesting to have footage that we can look back on. Oh, I think this little youngster's maybe discovered his genitals for the first time. Look at those paddy paws. It's looking pinched to me also, Louise. Yes, I think this little youngster's just discovered that it has something dangling between its legs. Ooh, what a wonderful moment. So if there is a glandular, triangular tip at the end, that would mean it's a boy. If it doesn't, then it's a girl, and it's a pseudo-penis and not a real penis. But at this stage, it's just so tricky. But it's definitely interesting, this little one. What a surprise. This is a more adventurous one. I'm wondering if this is the most dominant cub. Craig, you're saying, well, don't chew it. Yes, Craig, I really don't think this youngster should chew it. You're going to need that for many different reasons. I think it was having a little chew there. Yes, many of you are commenting you think it's a male. Me too. I saw the pinched tip, but honestly, it's far too early to say, so please just note that it's speculation. I'm completely speculating here, but yes, to me, it looked like there was a little glandular tip there. Oh, this one's very brave. Renee, you're saying judging by its behaviour, it can only be a boy. Renee, I completely agree with you. Only boys would do that. Okay, if there's a nice mother and cub moment here, I may take a snap. Oh, Ribbon, you just scared your little one by doing yoga. It slid right into the den as if it's in a soft play area. And it's gone. This is so great. Okay, it's coming back. Ribbon, I am proud of you. I really am. Here it comes. I am taking photos, everyone, but we do need some photos of the hyenas so that we can document them. So I wouldn't normally do this, I promise. And Darby's trying to get some footage as well. But we need to document this. This is the first time we've seen them in good light. Well, I say them, we're only seeing one. Did you see two heads earlier, Darby? I thought I did. Can you see that comparison in paw size? George, it's normally around 4 weeks old that they actually... There we go. I got some tender moments there, everyone. Apologies. It's normally 4 weeks old, actually, that they can join a communal den, between 4 to 6. Oh! This little one is going to need to be careful, little. Going to hurt yourself. But yes, so around about now, Ribbon will start to relax a lot and allow them to be introduced. It's the 4 week mark. They're in between 4 to 5 weeks. I'm convinced of it. And you can see how much bigger they've gotten. They've developed their muscles, they're mobile. Okay, they're not very well coordinated, but they're getting there. They're chewing things, they're seeing things, they're smelling things. So it's roundabout now. We're going to start to see lots of interactions. I just hope she doesn't move the den. Jump on Mama's head. Lev, you're asking, are there other animals that have a pseudo penis? Not quite like the hyenas, but I do believe that there are other mammals that do have a enlarged clitoris, shall we say. But I don't believe in the sort of form that hyenas have them. It's the most extreme. Obviously, it's very long. It's very penis-like, which is such a bizarre thing to say, but it's the case. And I'm just trying to think how many other animals have it. I know there is a species. Let me just check. Hold on 2 seconds. But hyenas have it the most sort of extreme. I can't remember. There definitely is another animal, I'll find out for you, that does have a very enlarged clitoris that looks like a penis. However, it's not. It's the female reproductive organ. But hyenas are definitely the most bizarre, and that's why they were thought to be hermaphrodites for so long. They're not hermaphrodites. They're completely separate sexes, males and females. But for a long time, they were thought to be hermaphrodites for this reason. This is just too cute. I hope the other one's okay. Ribbon's last litter, she originally had 2, and all of a sudden one disappeared. And she only had Paddy. So I hope the other one's just having a little nap. They're really venturing, really exploring. Imagine having been in a den for so long and all of a sudden, and all of a sudden you get the chance to explore. Everything's new. Must be so much fun. The other one's coming, Tavi. I think it's just woke up. I'm at a different angle from Davi, so he might not be able to see just yet. But there's 2. I can see them. Yep. They're both slowly coming, see? So I think, and again, speculation, that the one we've been watching, potentially a male, is a dominant one. That's what I think. I think this one that's slowly coming out is a weaker cub, which is completely normal within the twin litters. Hello. Yoko, absolutely. You would expect the female cubs to be cheekier and bolder. So if there's a male and a female here, the female will be the more dominant one. Absolutely. She may be just 2 boys. You don't know. There was a theory for a long time regarding hyenas that the higher ranked hyenas, and especially matriarchs, would always produce female offspring. But that myth has sort of been debunked. And if you even look at Corky, when she was in her prime, she had Plonk, who was a boy. So I'm massively speculating right now, everyone. I cannot confirm the sex, but if one is boy, one is female, then yes, the female will be more dominant. Oh, isn't this so sweet, everyone? Kisses for Mom. You can just see Ribbons thinking, oh, here we go again. Oh my goodness. I just want to soak this moment in. They're both venturing quite far now. Oh my goodness. Wow, you two are brave. This also shows you that they're not scared of the vehicle or not a threat here. Ribbon's very accustomed to her presence, and she's letting the cubs come out, so there's absolutely no sort of worry that she's threatened by our presence. Okay, hopefully I'm getting some nice images. I'll share them with you all. You're welcome to check out my Instagram, and I'm sure Davi's going to post some as well. So you can check out Davi's, and we'll post them on the WildEarth Instagram. So quite a few of you are asking when the spots will appear. Spots will appear at 3 months, roughly. But believe it or not, the spots are already mapped out. The spots are already there, but because the rest of the hair is so dark, you can't see them. But once they get to about 3 months, the rest of the hair will lighten and you will see the spots appear. So if you don't follow us already on Instagram, check out @WildEarth Official. And you'll be able to see some of these images. I'll make sure I share them with you all. If they're any good, that is. They might be terrible. Ooh, looks a bit of a headbutt to Mom. I want to get a family portrait. Come on, everyone. Sit nice. Lou's also over the moon. She loves hyena cubs. I actually don't know anyone that does not love hyena cubs. How can you not? And I'm convinced Heart's got some cubs too. I just don't know where. I need to unravel that mystery. But they may join up soon. They may together create a communal den. Heart, Ribbon, and the cubbies. I saw Heart's nipples, and there's no way she's not lactating. She was the next in line to really have cubs anyway. I always predicted Heart before I predicted Ribbon, actually. Rachel, great question. So one is smaller, and that'll be the weaker one. It's a twin litter. They're twins, which is the most common sort of number for hyenas. And they can't both have the same rank. It's not possible. So they'll both be high ranking because they're the offspring of the matriarch, but one will be more dominant than the other. So from the minute they are born, and I'm convinced also in the womb, they will be striving for dominance. They'll be fighting, they'll be wrestling, they'll be biting, because one has to be more dominant than the other, but they both will be high ranked. So the smaller one will definitely be the more submissive one. You'll see them fighting as time goes on. But siblicide, or canism, whichever term you prefer to use, doesn't happen in hyenas. That's another myth that's also been very much debunked. Excuse me, everyone, I just sneezed. Okay, I do not want this sighting to end. It's far too cute. So we're going to stay here and watch the little cubbies. But for now, we're going to send you guys across to James with an insect.
I have got a magnificent grasshopper here on the road that I'm trying to photograph. And I think that this grasshopper is rather like us, enjoying the dimming of the day. He's a magnificent creature. And unfortunately, in a bit of a dodgy position for me. Now, if we look at him, we might surmise that he is not in fact an adult, but probably around the 5th instar, or 3rd instar. I think they only have 5, which means that he'll go through another 2 molts before he's an adult. And we know this because he's got wing buds, but not yet fully developed wings. And he's the most glorious colour. Are you the most glorious colour? Yes, you are. What a fine fellow. I don't know if you can see this, but he's got very large eyes with sort of longitudinal stripes on it. Can you see that, Owen? And it is almost as if he has decided that he cannot move from this position because no one can see him. But if he moves, he will be seen and probably run over or eaten. We are not going to eat you, Grasshopper. He is now regarding me. He's turned his head slightly to the left so that he may look into my eyes and try and discern my intentions. Yes, Animus, big man scares little grasshopper. So the Orthoptera, which is one of these, the crickets and the grasshoppers, don't have a larval form. So they look like adults from birth, but for the wings on some species. And I wonder if somebody could look this up for me. This particular fellow has only got with him 5 legs, I think. So I think he's lost. No, he's got... Does he? No, he's got 6 legs. He's okay. He's all right. What is your name? Jeremy. Oh, Jeremy. I don't think this is a good place for you to be, Jeremy, because you're actually very easy to see, and it's entirely possible that a bird will fly across here and eat you, because you were a very nice color, but you look like a delicious lime-flavored snack. What amazes me about this is that there are so many born. So let's assume this is a female. I don't know how to tell the difference, but she will, if she makes it to adulthood, lay probably thousands of eggs in her time, all of which have the potential to grow into a detailed, beautiful creature like this, with those longitudinal striped eyes, astonishing mouth parts, delicate striping and shadowing on the back of the thorax, spiky, stridulating leggies. It's even got little luminous white spots on the abdomen. And all of that detail, probably 90% of it will go to waste. It'll all be eaten before it gets anything close to coming out and displaying its magnificence like this one is. I find that slightly sad. You've done very well to get to this stage. I don't think you realize how lucky you are, Jeremy. You're a very skilled grasshopper, and given your, I would say, given that I would say you have a less than successful strategy lying out here, I'm surprised you've lasted this long. Yes, Lorna, Jeremy is definitely still alive. He's just moved 2 of his leggies. He looks like he might be getting ready to have a spring, to jump. Because a hopper he is, a flyer he is not yet. In fact, he's turning towards me. He may be ready to challenge me in a fight to the death. Are you ready to have a fight to the death, Jeremy? Sorry? You are? Oh. What weapons shall we choose? Pistols? Sabers? Fists? Well, I don't think that's fair, Jeremy. You've got 4 fists and I've only got 2. I'm also a lot older than you. How about pistols at dawn, Jeremy? I'll bring 2 pistols out here tomorrow. I'm sure I'll well get them. He's now stealthily creeping towards me. Jeremy, what are you doing? Do you see that he is stealthily moving towards me, Owen?
Yeah, watch out.
I may have to leap off the ground. And he's moving with stealth, but I wouldn't say his colour is particularly stealthy. You want to climb on my hand, Jimmo? Oh, that's what you wanted, isn't it? Yes, you wanted to make friends. You wanted to shake hands and make a pal. Well, you can be my pal any day of the week. I'm now getting rather attached to this fellow. Trying to get on my hat. He might get tangled in my arm hair, Louise, but I shall release him. What I'm going to do now, Jeremy, I think is probably take you back to where you were more suitably camouflaged. He's got his little mouth parts out. Looks like he might try and attack me after all. He's not able to do me any harm, though. And he won't attack me. All right, I'm going to take him back to a nice piece of grass somewhere where he will be appropriately coloured for his environment, and you're going to go back to andBeyond Ngala.
Good luck to James with that grasshopper. I hope he comes out of that battle okay. We were just here and it was just such a beautiful sight to see such a large group of zebra and wildebeest together. And what made it even better is just this afternoon light that you can see hitting the trees in the background. So it's really just turning everything into this beautiful orange color. It really is stunning. Got quite a few zebra, that one walking in the foreground there. Just look at the stripes that it has. Very, very bold, defined stripes, but an overall almost a brownish color, rather than that popping white that you might see on other zebra more around. And I think it's probably because it might have just been doing some dust bathing today, maybe rolling around in some dirt, just almost as like an extra exfoliation to remove ticks and parasites off of its coat. And it turns that slightly dirtier color than the others. Always with zebra, that long tail swishing from side to side, just making sure the flies don't bother them too much. But on the hindquarters of the zebra, if you look very, very closely, you can see what is called a shadow stripe. So it's just basically that faint stripe in between the 2 white stripes. It's almost like an off-white brown color. So that tells us that these are birchals or plain zebra. That one on the right hand side has actually got very nice prominent ones. And then look at the one on the right, the one next to the youngster. Those shadow stripes go all the way up its body, basically. I mean, the other two only have the shadow stripes around the rump. And just in those three, you can really see how different these stripes are. I mean, it is quite remarkable. Once you start looking at them closely, you can really see the differences. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm quite a snob when it comes to zebras, and I'm trying to figure out what stripe pattern is my favorite one. And I think so far I'm going for the one on the left hand side, the one with the very, very bold black markings. It's more striking to me. The one on the right, the very small youngster, is very cute as well. So Moonbeam is asking if these are Burke's zebra. You're not too far off. They are actually called Birchall's zebra. So there's a few names for them, and different regions have got different names, but essentially they're different species or slightly different subspecies. So in this area, Birchall's or plain zebra is what they go by. If you move up into East Africa, you might hear the name Grant's zebra, and they're pretty much all exactly the same species. We get a few different species of zebra, but you don't really find them within this area of South Africa. They're more down towards the Cape and up into Namibia. There's the Cape Mountain zebra, there's the Grevy zebra, there's a few different ones. That lighting is just getting better and better, Marcel. Quite nice to see the two youngsters together there, the wildebeest and the zebra. But they spend every day with one another, so I don't think there's going to be too much interaction between them. Yoko is asking if zebras neigh a little bit like horses do. Not really. They've got quite a distinct sound, which is barking. I've tried to imitate the bark of a zebra once in my life, and I got ridiculed. I got laughed at so hard that I'll never ever do it again. So I don't know if Marcel, you'd like to. Marcel's saying a big no there, but it's the best way I can describe it is it's pretty much like a dog bark almost, but not quite. Not a very good description of the call, but I don't know how else to say it.
It's quite a wonderful sound.
They also snort, and that's more of an alarm call. And so that's when they see a potential threat, they'll snort. It sounds like a long, prolonged sneeze. And that will just alert every other animal in this area that there is a predator. Right. So I just thought we would show you this beautiful light before we lose it. We are probably going to move on from here. It's a nice time of evening for things like leopards and other nocturnal species to be out and about. So that's what we'll be keeping a lookout for. But we're going to send you back to Lauren and see if those hyenas are behaving themselves now.
Oh no, they're absolutely not behaving themselves, that's for sure. But they have ran back inside. But I don't think it's sleepy time just yet. They are far too full of energy. Ribbon's positioned herself, well, you know, it's not ideal, Ribbon. We're getting a bum view. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yes, we're not sleeping anytime soon. There's far too much to do. Far too much to explore. So while we've not been live, Davi and I have both been taking photos, so check our Instagrams and WildEarth officials and you'll get to see all of these magical moments. Isn't it great just seeing the development of these little cubs? I hope we can keep watching them and watching them as they get older and older. See what sex they are and see what little toe rags they turn into. And of course, if you do feel that you wish to support us in any way, you can head over to the website www.wildearth.tv/support, and there's options there to support us in any way that you may wish. Oh. Well, then why did you have to position yourself this way? She's very relaxed with us being here, but I must say, any noise and she's startled. She's alert. She's got her babies on her mind. I think this is going to be a daily thing. Everyone, every afternoon. I think we're going to get to see these puppies now for longer. Oh. She's shown off now. Yes, Ruben, you produced some fine babies. I think baby any animal is cute, but hyenas are a winner. Wasn't it worth the wait, everyone? All those afternoon, James, myself, Trishala, sat here, waiting. Nancy, you're saying it's not the easiest of den sites for the cubs to explore. I know, but doesn't it look fun? Doesn't it? It's got different tiers. It's got different levels. It's got lots of holes, lots of sticks. Doesn't it just look like the greatest bouncy castle of all time, except it's not bouncy? Rachel, I'm not entirely sure who's made the cubs. He's pulling a stick right over Mom's head. But I think Swazi is Pretty's son. Pretty was fairly high ranked. And I think Ribbon is very accepting and tolerant of Swazi. He's young and he's very curious. I think Swazi's had a good introduction to them. He was starting to really sniff them one night when I was here. And I think Trishala had a lovely sighting last night with them. I imagine Indabele and Antima, Ribbon's daughter, who's 3 years old, have probably met the cubs, but I'm not sure. I think we're going to see more and more often clan members being introduced. I think some of the newer immigrant males will be the last. They'll be the last on the list to get introduced to the cubbies. I think Saka's desperate to meet them. I think he thinks he's the daddy. Whether he's the daddy or not, I have no idea, but he thinks he's the daddy. One's definitely more adventurous than the other. And once they start exploring, honestly, it's not going to stop everyone. It's going to be a constant tornado of hyena cubs running around the den. I was just waving goodbye to Pippa and Yuri. They came along to meet and greet the cubs too. Oh, many of you are commenting that this sighting was totally worth reading at the den. I don't know. I think it was James and I during that time that Trishalla was off. We waited for hours and Ribbon slept the whole time. It wasn't the most riveting of sightings, but I've got my lucky mushroom socks on and today's been a great day. It's definitely worth the waiting. And we've had some good sightings until now, but it's been in the dark and it's not quite the same as getting to see them in the beautiful daylight. Oh, Ribbon, you honk. There's no other way to say it. Debs, you're asking about the cubs, the hyena cubs. When do they wean? Hyenas actually have a very, very long lactation period, and the cubs can start to begin weaning maybe around the 6 months mark, but they suckle right up until 18 months, sometimes even 2 years. That's a really, really long time. The milk is said to be one of the most nutritious in the animal kingdom. It contains lots of fatty acids, protein with lots of amino acids, but it also contains really high levels of calcium from the amount of bones that they eat. Bone crushers. That's why the poop turns white. So it's said to be one of the most nutritious milks in the entire animal kingdom. It's more nutritious than lion's milk. And I imagine that's why they allow their cubs to suckle for so long. But we've seen cubs at 2 years old suckling. But they do start to eat meat at around 6 months old. Ah, what a joy. This has been such a pleasant evening. I'm not going anywhere. It appears that James has had the same idea I had at the start, and he's exploring Chitwa.
I'm sorry, I missed all of that. Anyway, I know that we're live, which is good. We came onto Cheetah, which is the reserve southeast of us. We popped in at the waterhole. There were a couple of hippopotami going and then we carried on. And there was a darter, an African darter, but we were rather hoping for some sign of Thandi the leopard and or her cubs. Let us observe that impala very briefly. Behold, he is on his own. He is spurned, despised and rejected by his friends. Who will be his friends again, should he make it through the breeding season undevoured? He's a particularly rude impala, who has chosen not to look at us while we speak about him. That's better, yes, much more polite, thank you. He can hear all his friends rutting, he can hear the great roaring and snorting, and he's feeling nostalgic for when he was healthy enough to take part. Or he's biding his time and is about to go and enter the fray, so that he too may take a harem in time for mating. What? Oh, and I think he's taken some displeasure at us.
He's about to go into attack mode.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's very good looking. Oh, what is that? He's either got hiccups. This is quite remarkable. Yes? Yeah, he also wants to have pistols at dawn. He does this sort of semi-alarm call. There. What is that? You're a very odd fellow. Oh. But are you sure? Or are you looking at me? I'm looking behind me to see if there is a leopard stalking through the grass. think it's just us. I'm definitely going to have a proper look behind us, yeah. But I'm pretty sure it's just us. Because I think he'd be going ballistic if he'd actually seen a leopard. See, he's following us. His eyes are following us. Sorry, I did apply the brakes, everybody, but unfortunately they no longer function. I don't see a cat draped from a tree, stalking through the woodland. Or an impala, trapped in a tree. No. Lost interest now. That's definitely not the alarm call of an animal that's just seen a cat. Because the shouting would have been very loud and very strident and very prolonged. Tom, they start getting their horns pretty early on, actually, about, I never remember this, of course, around about 3 months, I think. 3 months you'll start to see the little buds. And then when they're 2 years, they're roughly full size. They'll slowly kind of get a little bit bigger as the impala grows. So at a year, they're like that. And then at 2 years, they've done their little twist out. Right, apparently we're out of sync, which means that my mouth is not moving at the same time as the sound is reaching your ears, which is very disconcerting. So I shall not look at you and send you over to Eric at andBeyond Ngala with I don't know what.
I missed that. What was that? We spent the last 15 minutes driving along the riverbed, and we've found this troop of baboons who I think are potentially the same troop of baboons that we saw this morning, and they've actually walked a very, very long way today. But the distance, I suppose, that they are covering hasn't really slowed the youngsters down, because they seem to be full of energy still. A couple of them wrestling each other with playing tug of war with that little palm frond there.
Oh, now comes Big Brother.
Hey, look at that one getting dragged. Shame. Oh, that's a little bit of rough play there. Jeepers. That must be an older siblings telling the younger one to behave. Has to be. Yeah. This one is definitely getting manhandled. Jeepers, shame, man. It's a noticeable size difference between the black one and the two browner ones. It's not willing to back down though, it's coming straight back in the action. I wonder if it's going to get taken back, dragged by the foot again. Oh, it is cute. It's interesting. I got asked the question today: how we age baboons, or how young a baboon I thought was, and I mean I don't really have the correct answer. But looking at the few of them together, those youngsters there that are in the background compared to the one that's very black, it's got completely black faces, whereas that other one is completely pink face, and I'm sure that must be a time, maybe I don't know. Maybe in a month or so, when they change from that very pink face to that very black face. That was a cool. We just got a small little gap, so we're actually watching the whole troop cross one by one, and they must be walking back to one of the trees that they will sleep in for the rest of the night. And I'm sure they'll try and get there before dark falls, because then they're pretty vulnerable. And a leopard would probably try its luck hunting. A big male might decide, if one of these youngsters gets slightly separated from the rest of the troop, it might be a good idea to quickly run in and get a cheap, easy meal. I am going to move a touch forward so I can still see the small ones. See them there? There we go. Look at that one lying down. Is that not the most relaxed baboon you've ever seen? On its side, lying.
Face me like one of your French ladies.
Yo, that is completely relaxed. It's had a long day out in the sun. It must be Lou's saying that it's Baboon Beach Day, and it certainly looks like it. I was certain I saw a baboon walking with a beach towel and an umbrella, but I didn't get a good view of it.
Oh, that's a proper size.
These ones, I think, are right at the back of the troop, so they're probably... Oh, there's another youngster. Oh, never mind, there's a lot more than I initially thought. I thought it might just be the big males at the back of the troop, just making sure that everyone keeps up and doesn't get too isolated. There's these little pockets of youngsters, so there are 3 or 4 of them at a time. They're all very, very playful. I'm sure a lot of them have been riding on the mother's backs or even underneath their bellies, saving their energy for this playtime. Big takedown off of the log.
Submission.
One of those animals that you can really find a whole heap of entertainment with when they are here out and about. But as soon as they start coming towards a lodge or Anna Marie, I'm very glad that you are enjoying this as much as we are. I was just saying, one of the most entertaining things to watch is something like this out in the banks, but if they spend too much time around and start learning how to break into your rooms, they can be quite a nuisance, but I suppose it's not their fault. Let's see if we can see. I mean, I think that is pretty much the back end of the troop, so we might be able to reverse and just catch up to the front of the troop. Maybe see if those little youngsters are still being as naughty as they were a few minutes ago. How are we doing there, Marcel? There we go. We've got quite a nice view of a whole lot of them. And they are ending off their day just how they started. So if the viewers watched this morning, we were down in the riverbed watching the troop of baboons moving through this exact river. And they were doing exactly the same thing. So they were grooming with one another. They were just spending time, and you'll always see these 2 little pairs. And then you'll always see the little mischievous youngsters. But I think we are battling to get a very, very good view. And it is starting to get dark. I'm sure they'll take a little bit of time to go and find a nice little tree to roost in. So for now, we're going to leave them. Might be able to catch up with them again tomorrow, but we're going to send you back to Djuma, where I think you'll be with Lauren for the next few minutes.
It's not only getting dark, it's getting chilly. I'm regretting my choice of wearing shorts. Why did I wear shorts? It's getting chilly very fast. Now, we have left the hyena den. The cubs did not appear again for well over 10 minutes, and Ribbon was fast asleep. And I think that's it. I think they have tiny, small little stomachs. They fill themselves up on milk, and they're full of energy. And then once that energy is zapped from bouncing around that mound, then it's time for a sleep. So we've decided to leave. And I've taken the Rebecca's road because I always see fresh leopard tracks on this road, and it baffles me. It absolutely baffles me who it is. It's always a female. And I had a theory the other night, could be Tlalamba also using this road. I've never seen her on it. Or is it Shadulu who's just being so good at being a leopard we don't see her? I don't know. But one day it will pay off. It always pays off, and one day I will find out whose tracks they are. Now, Shadulu's a much bigger leopardess than Tlalamba. But still, it's very difficult to tell from tracks. But one day, I promise, I will figure it all out. I'll figure out who is walking Rebecca's roads on I'd say 3 or 4 times a week, maybe 5. I don't know. We were lucky enough to see Tlalamba the other night, and she took me home. She decided, Lauren, I've had enough of you. It's time for you to go home, and she led me back to camp. It's very sweet of her. And she said, there you go get dinner. I'm off. And away she went. Okay, decision time. I might go down this way, actually. We're going further and further away from home, but it is really the perfect time and climate that leopards will be moving. And many of you are convinced that I'm going to find a leopard again. Well, that's what I'm hoping for. I've had all the leopard luck recently. But I'm really invested in the leopards, and I must say, I try to work out where they could be moving. And it doesn't mean I always get it right, of course I don't. But you can figure out who's going to be moving where and why. If you just try and piece that together, you may get lucky. And fresh hyena tracks. Hyenas have been walking here anyway, but no leopard. And I think this is the road, this is just my theory, that Shadulu comes in. And Shadulu is the Duchess of the West that I'm desperate to introduce many of the new viewers to. And of course, you oldies like me, we want to catch up with her. She's a gorgeous leopardess. She's big, she's really, really large, much larger than Tlalamba. And I think this is the road she uses, so it's worth it. Let's go bump that leopard. I keep sending the leopards in the direction of James, but they're just not doing it. But because winter is really, really upon us now, the leopards are going to slightly change their movement, slightly change their patterns, so we'll need to figure them out a little bit more. So I may need to get my spotlight out soon, but it appears Mr. Hendry is already on the case.
Yes, I've got my spotlight out and I am looking for animals with shiny eyes. I am also attracting insects which are flying into my nose, and if they get anywhere close to me, I shall kill them. I shall feel nothing for killing them, for they are a pestilence upon me. Go away. It's one beastly fly. Now, we have come up the eastern boundary of Djuma. We're going back to our favorite action-packed waterhole of the Buffelshoek Dam. We'll see if a leopard pops out there. There is a half moon this evening, which is quite pretty. We might look at the half moon from Buffelshoek Dam. What manner of possessed insect is this? Try and calm myself now. This has definitely been possessed by a spirit of deep irritation. Right, we're nearly at the waterhole. I'm sure you're all devilishly excited to find out what's going to be there. I know I am. Maybe a herd of elephants gently wading through the dusk. Swimming lessons in the evening. I feel like that would be a good way to end off. Yes, indeed. Many of you commenting that the animals want to fight me today. Yes, we had Jeremy. Although I don't think I think I misread Jeremy's body language. I actually think that he was just shy and approaching me because he wanted to be my friend but didn't really know how to say hello. The impala, maybe the impala had been on the sauce. He was hiccuping. But definitely that other insect is possessed of something that I do not wish to discover again. The elephants didn't want to attack me, thankfully. They were very confiding. Right, here we are at the water. Owen, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Yes, good answer. Good answer. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, a couple of bones on the ground. A tree fallen over. We know that tree. We know these bones. We know this bump in the road. And now, what do we expect here? The water's edge. Phew. Gosh, look at this, Owen. It's unfathomable. Let's quickly go onto the damn wall so that everyone can get a better view of the diversity of life. Oh, there it is. The same hippopotamus who saw us this morning. The colours are lovely though, and the sound is equally lovely. Sit still. The car is creaking like the dromedaris in a high storm. Scrub robin going. Crested francolins. is just telling me that we're now having a look at the moon. Is that what it is? It is a perfect half moon. Gosh, that is spectacular, actually. You can see the damage to which the surface of the moon has been subjected by various flotsam that has come flying through space and smashed into it. Can you also see the flag there, Owen?
Yes.
Yeah, there. The American flag. I am joking, everybody. You can't see the American flag from here. I think it's fallen over, hasn't it? I think they thought it would have fallen over. That is very true, Louise. Louise says it's been bleached white by the sun's radiation, which I think is a nice thing to point out. Absolutely. Our little grebe is in here as well, Owen. She's now dived beneath us. There she is. I'd say hippopotamus, Luna. It depends where you are, you know. You don't want to bump into any animals at night. So, a hippo, you're likely to bump into, or a buffalo you're quite likely to bump into if you're at a camp that is close to the water. And they can be very dangerous because they're very easily threatened, and especially at night you can give them a fright. Out here where we are now, I would really not like to walk into a lion. Lions are a different prospect come the night. They're much more confident, and if they think you can't see them, which 90% of the time you can't, then you'd be in some trouble. But by far the most dangerous animal in Africa, as I always like to say, is Cheetah. Just taking a last takeaway home to the nest to feed Bebe and wife. One of my favorite sounds is the sound of the hippo exhaling. Yeah, Jenna, it really is just so peaceful. The sounds are so healing. Right, we'll go back to andBeyond Ngala now, where Eric is motoring through the night with his friend Marcel, the human encyclopedia.
So those baboons really didn't do too much after we left them. They literally just started walking down the river back towards one of the places that they're going to roost for the night. And so we decided to take a really nice slow drive in the direction towards that big waterhole, so in an easterly direction, and just looking for any tracks or signs of any leopard in this area. And I think you've pretty much seen in the last month or so, seen all of the leopards that do hang around this area. It's not to say that they're ones that will come in randomly, but the few that we're looking for is a young male leopard, a female leopard with one cub, and then a nice big male. And what we've noticed, and Marcel and I were actually chatting about it, the temperature feels like it's dropped probably about 10 or 12 degrees within the last 10 minutes. As soon as the sun went below the horizon, it just became very cold. And so these nocturnal animals are going to feel this cool temperature, and they might think that, hey, it's a good opportunity to start their night a little bit earlier. So it's not only leopards that we're looking for, but there's a chance of us seeing things like little genets, maybe a mongoose, If we're incredibly lucky, we might catch a glimpse of a honey badger or something. That'll be the cherry on top of a really, really amazing day. I think one of the biggest advantages of having a setup like this is you get to see so much more theoretically than you would in a normal game drive. I mean, we've seen cheetah cubs this afternoon, we've seen hyena cubs, elephants, buffaloes, zebra wildebeests, lion this morning. It's really such an amazing way to be here and not experience, or to experience it whilst not being here, I guess. So Kruger, you've asked what inspired me to become a guide and why I'm andBeyond. It's something that I always wanted to do, and it took me a while for me to realize that it was something, it was a childhood passion, and then I started to drift more in towards the interests of sport. And then when I left high school and wasn't good enough to make my very small first team school back in Howick, I started looking at other options, and this desire to come back into Africa just really started to just become louder and louder. And I mean, I didn't know this before I started, but one of the things that I really, really love about andBeyond is the work that we do behind the scenes. So not only delighting guests every day, but some of the conservation victories that we have accomplished in the last 25 years. And it's things like translocating Indian buffalo from one reserve to another, which is the first time that a successful translocation in India has ever taken place, or the relocation of cheetahs and being able to provide a cheetah population where you can distribute to different reserves and help that genetic diversity of cheetahs grow. We've done lots of conservation work for rhinos, we're doing conservation work for lions. So there's not only the animal side of things that we feel like you get to help out and be a part of, but also the work that we do with the local communities around the area, I think, is really inspiring. And we build schools and clinics and just try and keep the mindset of the communities a positive one to conservation. If there's a negative mindset behind what we do here in the communities, we're going to lose the land and we will lose the animals, and we'll stop being able to show you all of these wonderful animals that we have in Africa. So it's a topic that I'm very, very passionate about, and I can go on for a long time. But I think I might be saying goodnight to you for now, and I will send you across to Lauren. We'll see what she's up to now.
I have patrolled the western boundary on a whim. No, I haven't actually patrolled. I'm not patrolling. I'm not scent marking or anal pasting. Do not worry. But I've patrolled the western boundary on a bit of a whim that we might see somebody moving. It's the perfect leopard time. But sadly, my whim has not paid off yet. Anyway, just yet. Now, I mentioned earlier that once winter comes, things are definitely going to change in terms of the vegetation, the weather, naturally. But the animal movements will definitely change with it. So water will not be so readily available. I don't quite know what's going to happen this winter. It's going to be interesting because the dams are the fullest they've been in 7 or 8 years. So maybe water will be more available for longer than it would normally. So that means that animals are going to be restricted to certain water points, and it's going to create a lot of stress and a lot of conflict for animals. Predators will utilize it to hunt prey. Prey will be scared because they know there's predators. But when you come to, let's just use leopards as the perfect example, since we're going to bump a leopard, I'm sure of it, that their territory is not just an area. The territory sits within a home range. The home range is the entire area that they use, and the territory is the area that they actively defend and scent mark and battle against. Now, a territory is not just a bland area, it's broken up into different sort of segments, if you like. You'll have your core area, your secondary area, your tertiary area, and the core area is normally defined as having a reliable sort of water point, if you like. So a reliable source of water all year round that you can come to and you know there will be water there. That's the area that you would normally see as a core area. And for the likes of Tingana, he's a perfect example, Galago Pan and Vuatella Pan, they are permanent water sources. They're pumped and they supply water all year round. This makes up the bulk of Tingana's core area. And in these areas, he will not be as aggressive. Even though it's in the heart of his territory, he knows that he has to share the resource. He has no choice. Lions will come, elephants will come, wild dogs will come. Everybody needs water. So normally you find predators are a little bit more relaxed in their core areas of the territory in winter, when water is not so readily available. And I say relaxed, they'll still be a predator, but they won't be as aggressive or actively scent mark around that region, because it has to be a shared resource. Tingana can't claim the pan and not let anyone else come. It's very, very fascinating dynamics when it comes to movements in winter. So I'm very, very excited about that, but not excited about the temperatures. So I'm going to do my last little search for some predator eyes, and as I do that, we're going to send you guys back across to James.
We are heading towards home. Oh, I can smell the delicious cooking. She had an apprentice this evening, and that was my wife. And so, with any luck, whatever they concoct, I shall be eating for many years to come. Now, unfortunately, Taylor has no signal at the moment, and so she bids you a fond good night, as does Alex, the celebrity, who is her cameraman. And it also falls upon me to ask you to consider supporting us, please, by going to wildearth.tv/support. If you have the means and you wish to support us, that'd be great. wildearth.tv/support. Maybe we'll be very lucky with a kitty cat in the last 90 seconds of the drive. I mean, this is a good place to hunt, edge of a clearing. Yes, Alex says it's going to be strange without having Hosanna camping at the dam this winter. For those of you who don't know, Hosanna was our very favorite male leopard, well, certainly many of ours. He was born to Karula, and he spent the whole of, it was last winter? Certainly the winter before. He spent the whole winter curled up pretty much at the pan, hunting there. It was just wonderful. And we could basically guarantee a sighting of him every single day. And we watched him from the day he was born on the 2nd of February. And unfortunately, he's moved off now to become a territorial male down near Singita, which is about, 10 k's off to the southwest. So, that's where he is. It's going to be strange not having him, yes indeed. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your questions and comments as always. And I hope that you drew some healing and pleasure from being in nature today. It was a beautiful drive of creatures and atmosphere. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 0600. Until then, bye-bye.